Parma Calcio 1913, a club well known for their successes between the years of 1992 and 2002, winning 8 major titles over the course of that 10-year period, including 2 UEFA Cups and 3 Coppa Italias. Sadly, more recently, the club has become recognised more for their struggles off the pitch, with multiple ownership changes and large amounts of debt, leading the club having to file for bankruptcy in 2015. The club did reform in the July of that year, starting in the Serie D. They achieved 3 consecutive promotions and returned to the top flight in the summer of 2018. After narrowly avoiding relegation last year, this season would prove crucial to become a staple side in the Serie A once again. Enter Gianluigi Buffon, an Italian legend who started his career at Parma, making over 200 appearances for the club. The Parma board have approached him to take charge of the club effective immediately and currently sit in 18th place in the league, and relegation is starting to look more certain by the day. His task is to save them from relegation and to return his former club to glory. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to a new career mode. It's going to be with Parma, as you saw from the intro. Apologies for it being a little bit cringy, but I thought I needed to do something a little bit different with the start of this career mode. And you can see it is Gianluigi Buffon taking the reins of Parma, his former club, obviously, and I'm just excited to get into this. It's going to be an interesting career mode, a little bit different to the BUFFON one on this channel, as that one's a bit more slower paced and it's not going to be as fast paced as this one. This is going to be aiming to be 1 month per episode, and it's going to be condensed highlights and just little sort of things in the background. I'm not going to show you every training session, press conference, that sort of thing. This episode is a little bit different, as I've had to sort of cram a whole month of January, including transfers, into one episode, so it will be a little bit longer. I'm aiming to maybe make it about 10 minutes long per episode, so hopefully I can try and do that. Taking the reins of Parma is going to be a difficult challenge. They have 13, I said that right, 13 players on loan, which means at the end of the season we are losing about half of our squad, if not more. And I've also set myself a little rule, a little bit similar to Dox's Club and Country. If you've not seen his channel, I'm surprised you haven't if you're watching this channel, but it's going to be essentially I can only sign players from Italy and only use those sorts of players. So in the first couple of seasons, I'm going to have to slowly remove the non-Italian players at the club. Doesn't mean I'm not going to use them, as a majority of them are only in on loan for 6 months now. So there's no point of me just leaving them on the bench. We haven't actually got a full Italian squad anyway. But I'd like to think the board have come to Buffon and said, look, we've signed a lot of non-Italian players over the years. I'd quite like us to go back to an Italian core and just play with that and see how we do. I might introduce a little bit later on down the line, maybe we can sign a couple of different players, as back in the 90s and early 2000s, Parma's success didn't come from just Italian players. They obviously had Lilian Thuram and Hernan Crespo as 2 probably big players that weren't Italian. So I'm not going to maybe stick to that later on down the line, but for now, all Italian, and that's going to be the main focus of this career mode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the slider settings I will be using in this career mode are going to be what Kutsi uses in his career mode for the Youth Squad Legends, and I just felt that was probably the best sort of fit. It's going to be quite a challenging career mode, and I'd like to make it as challenging as possible. I was using the Operation Career Mode sliders or something like that. The ones that I was using for BUFFON, I've actually changed over to Kutsi in that as well, just because I felt this was a much more difficult slider setting, so hopefully that is all okay. Heading into the first game of the career mode and the episode as well, it will be against Atalanta, a difficult team in the Champions League, and we didn't start off particularly well, as Ilicic, well, that is a fantastic strike from the Slovenian, I believe, Slovenian or Slovakian, I always get those two mixed up, but a really nice strike into the top corner, meaning that Atalanta would go 1-0 up. It wouldn't last for too long though, as Kuchka, sorry, is it Kuchka or is it the other midfielder we have? Kurtic, sorry. There's 2 of them. Kuchka and Kurtic, get them mixed up because they are also Slovenian and Slovakian, and I can't remember which one is which. I'm not sure if that's racist or not, but the flags look very similar. That's my defence. We didn't start off the game too well anyway, but we did manage to get ourselves back in at 1-1, and Atalanta were playing much better. Obviously, the much better side in this game, and probably would feel a little bit hard done by, as we did go ahead and finish the game off 1-1, and they had the chances to probably extend their lead and make it 2 or 3 more goals. They just didn't, and I'd say that they should be a little bit disappointed at that result. Overall though, I'm happy with that. Away from home and a draw, I can't say anything fairer than that. And Kurtic was probably the best player on the pitch for us. Nobody else really sort of stuck out as a good player in terms of that game. So I'm not going to judge the team too harshly over the next couple of games, but we'll have to see how we do in the next few games. We didn't have much time to take a break as we went into the next game against Lecce, a team in the bottom half of the table as well. And again, we were at home. I was expecting for us to at least a draw, possibly a win. I'm not too sure because obviously we're a team that have just got a new manager. We've sort of trying out a new formation, trying out a few new things, new players, everything like that. And this game was just horrendous. We just did not get into it. And if it wasn't for some good saves from Sepe and some decent defending, I think overall, we wouldn't have been 1-0 down going into half time. We would have probably been about 3 or 4 goals down. So I think we were lucky to be going in 1-0 down. And you can see from the match facts, no shots, nothing, absolutely no attacking threat whatsoever. And Lecce just increased their advantage in the second half. Started the second half as they did end the first half, as it's a really nice diving header. You rarely see these sort of go in, but it's a really nice goal. And overall, I think Lecce played really well and were just playing the game much better than us. And you can see here, we had a couple of chances in the second half to maybe get back in, but Gervinho is horrendous. I've decided I just do not like this guy, and we may be moving him on in the next window. The game against Lecce, though, did end 2-0 to them. Bit of a disappointing result overall. I think we probably need to be looking to at least get a draw minimum against teams around us. We don't want to be dropping points. We did go a little bit harder on the attack in the second half, but just wasn't really good enough. And overall, I think it's given me some ideas of what sort of positions we need to be focusing on. I think defensively, we're not the worst. I think it's more in the attacking sense. We just don't have a lot of threat going forward. So we go ahead and make our first signing. Sebastiano Esposito. $1.5 million was enough for him to be signed from Inter Milan. And yeah, looks like a decent player. Will become our starting striker. Will also wear the number 80 shirt as well. Another player we decided to almost sign is Jacopo Desi. Bring him back from loan, as I don't know why we were loaning him out. He's one of our best midfielders, and he's Italian as well. So he comes back in. You'll also see a couple of players leaving in this transfer window. Hopefully, if some teams come in from, we'll show you that towards the end if anybody does leave. And we also go ahead and sign our first young player, I'd say. I mean, Esposito is a starting young player. Maldini is more for the future. 62 rated, and the third generation Maldini. Bit unrealistic for him to leave AC Milan, but signing him for such a cheap fee, I think he'd be a great signing and may make his first start against this game in against Juventus. So obviously a game I wasn't really predicting too much from. Probably ideally a draw, but realistically just keeping it respectable, maybe a 1 or 2-0 loss, 2-1 loss, something like that. Wasn't the case in this game, I'm afraid. It was a pretty embarrassing result, as I believe it was about 5-1. So I'm not gonna get too hung up on this. It's Juventus. Oh, sorry, Piemonte Calcio. We can't be calling them Juventus. That might get Pez sort of worried about us using their actual license name. I think that's ridiculous. I think I've already made my point clear about teams selling their licensing to one game, so one game doesn't be able to profit, and it's only the people who buy the games that suffer. But anyway, not my. I'm not going to go into that. I can probably go into that in maybe a longer episode where I start rambling about things. But Juventus playing very well, and Danilo scored probably the best goal of the game there. Second goal was fantastic, really nice finish, and he cuts in on his right foot and just scores an absolutely fantastic goal. Things went from bad to worse in the second half. Ronaldo finally getting a goal for himself and does his trademark celebration. Sadly, I don't have the audio on. I think I did in the actual game when you see all the footage. I don't have it on for myself, but when you see all the footage, you'll hear his actual sort of scream. Things went from even worse to even worse as Barella scores his first own goal of the season. Very nice. Love to see that. We do go ahead and pick up a consolation, but it means absolutely nothing. Desi, actually, to be fair to him, had a decent game in this one, but overall, we were just out of it. I think in the first half, we played relatively well, but Juventus just sort of were fantastic in that second half. They really did just push on and picked up those extra 3 goals that they probably deserved in the second half, if I'm being honest. So overall, a bit disappointing, but not much we can do about that. We just move on and put that game behind us. It was a game that I wasn't expecting to necessarily dominate, and overall, it's not the end of the world. Heading into the final game of the episode, it will be against Udinese, a team that are an interesting one. They have obviously quite a few links to Watford and just links all over the place. They have a lot of players that seem to always be out on loan and a lot of decent, high-rated potential players. So I think Udinese are a team that we were probably looking to maybe get a draw against as well. At least not a loss. It would be nice to get our first win, and I'm going to be honest, we just completely rolled over in this game in the first half. We just had no opportunities, no chances, and I think the home fans were starting to get a little bit worried about our performance. However, in the 70th minute, Esposito gets his first goal for the club, makes his mark on the team, and the number 80 goes ahead and nets his first goal for the club. Really nice goal there, and overall, I think it's lucky as Udinese deserved at least a point in this game. They just had so many opportunities. Sepe played out of his skin. Obviously, a Italian goalkeeper wanting to possibly be re-signed, as I believe he's from, I think it's Napoli. I can't remember where he's from now. I think it is Napoli, or it's one of the big clubs. And Sepe obviously wanting a real contract at Parma, as he's trying to impress the former number one of Italy, as he's making some great saves. And you can see here, he made probably save after save, every opportunity, and Udinese had absolutely no chance. Esposito did go ahead and net his second goal in the game in the 85th minute. Really smart finish from him on his left foot, and overall, we completely scraped through that. Managed to somehow get a 2-0 win. A clean sheet is fantastic, but overall, Esposito picks up the man of the match. I think Sepe probably deserved joint man of the match. He really did prove crucial to us getting that clean sheet, but overall, a good performance nonetheless. Now, we finish off the episode with a few little things, some transfer business ending the January window, and obviously a youth scout report. Some interesting players there. We'll give them a month in the youth academy to sort of sit there and just see what we've got and how good they are. 3 players sold: Scozzarella, Gagliolo, and Siligardi. So that meant we could go ahead and sign a couple of players for a bit more squad depth, as losing a few players like that, I think it was a left winger, a left back, and a centre mid. So we went and signed Rizzo in left back, a decent deal for him, and overall, I'm quite happy with that. A really good young player, I think, could grow into probably a really good left back for the club. More for the future, though, in my opinion. Hernai sold, our Brazilian centre defensive midfielder, so that meant we could go in for a big signing. Stefan El Shaarawy, obviously playing his football in China at the moment, but we decided to bring him back home to Italy and attempt to sign him. That was a lot of money. I believe it was in the fee of around about 17 million plus Jemison, so I think in total about 24, 25 million. And he did decide to go ahead and come back to Italy. I believe it's a return after a couple of years, a good few years at least, not playing in the Italian First League. So he comes back and returns to Italy, not to Milan, but to Parma, and he could be a really good player for us. And we do go ahead and decide to sell Gervinho. He was probably in my idea to maybe sell him next season, but Leipzig came in and said they wanted to take him and bring his services to Germany for 11.5 million. I bit their hand off and said, take him, please. You can have him for anything. And they go ahead and sign him for that fee. So he's gone as well. And with that, we decided to sign one more player, Mangraviti, a player from Brescia. Just a very cheap sign, a really, really cheap sign. I believe it's about 230,000 for this man. And we signed the centre-back services for a really, really good deal. And overall, it was our final deal of the window. 5 players out, 5 players in. I think overall not the worst transfer window. I think maybe I'll make a couple more signings towards the end of the season to come in for the new season at the end. But overall, I'm quite happy with that. A few players will be leaving, obviously, at the end of the year, and I'm quite happy with that transfer window in general. I think we have a stronger squad going in to the final few months of this season. That'll be the end of the episode, though. Do hope you enjoyed watching. Do leave a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll just say that this is not obviously taking over the Bochum career mode. This will be coming out probably once a week, and it'll be that 1 month per episode sort of style of things. So don't worry, the Bochum career mode is not going anywhere, but I will see you for the next episode of career mode on this channel very soon. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.